Fam, what do we do? There are no more Comic-Cons anymore. I got my favorite guy right here, Sam Flynn. And of course, Blade. I used to sell at the Comic-Cons. I'm not selling at the Comic-Cons anymore because of COVID. Now what? What's up, everybody? Andre Reese.biz. All right, guys. Not only do I do taxes, I do a whole bunch of other stuff. As you guys kind of realize, I have a tax and accounting practice, but I also have a retail business where I sell online, Amazon, eBay, and also in the past, if you guys have seen my posts, I used to do a lot of outdoor and kind of face-to-face, direct reseller to consumer sales. And some of the ones I did the most were I would do fairs and festivals, outdoor events, stuff like jazz festivals or, local things that would take place in the community or somewhere in an outlying area. And I think one of my biggest and most, the funnest things I did when it comes to outdoor events or, face-to-face direct sales is when I would do Comic-Cons. So you guys are kind of asking yourself, what exactly is a Comic-Con? Well, a Comic-Con is kind of short for comic convention. And you guys are probably, a lot of you are aware of this. If you're into anything, pop culture, it can be Pepsi, bottle caps, it can be Hello Kitty, it can be the Avengers, it can be, Tron, it can be, Blade, it can be Superman, Supergirl, anything that's pop culture related. You're generally going to find an outlet to really express yourself when it comes to your choice of, pop culture, favorites. And mine has always been, believe it or not, I don't have a lot of pop culture stuff that I collect. I only have just a few items. Even when I was in the pop culture world they're selling. My pop culture favorite has always been Blade, and I've always Sam Flynn, and Tron, and so these are really the only things I have besides, the standard Sanford and Son. That's it for me. Those are my favorite pop culture choices. So as a Comic-Con seller, I made a choice to actually go out and try to find various items that represented pop culture in general. And I would kind of go out and, set up a booth and, a table, most of them were all indoors, and I'd be there with a bunch of other, fellow sellers, and so because of, taking that stance, I got to meet a lot of very interesting, fun, cool people. And a lot of people that kind of go to Comic-Cons are the same ones that go from comic convention to comic convention to comic convention. And a lot of you guys may not realize this, but there's some very, very large Comic-Cons like, the one down in San Diego that a lot of people are aware of that brings in hundreds of thousands of people every year and is known all over the world. And there's a lot of small local cons, which I really enjoy doing as well. So what I would generally focus on are some of the larger regional cons like Sac Anime I would do, and also a lot of the local cons that would pop up, in some of the local cities, that would normally not be served by Comic-Cons. I enjoy doing those kind of as well. And so now because of COVID, as you guys are all aware, the Comic-Cons have pretty much stopped in California. They may still be taking place in other parts of the United States, depending upon, how stringent they're operating there. But in the Bay Area, for sure, and most of California, you are not going to find a Comic-Con. They were doing some Comic-Cons for a minute where they were doing, some stuff outdoors or whatever, but it's difficult to keep this stuff, secure in the wind and the rain and all that. So a lot of them have basically kind of, stopped. And, because of COVID, the Comic-Cons are gone. I am no longer selling at the Comic-Cons at all. And I'll be honest with you guys, I had an absolute wonderful experience, selling at the Comic-Cons. But, I met some incredible people. I met some incredible vendors. And it was almost like a traveling show. I would go from Comic-Con to Comic-Con to Comic-Con, usually on the weekends. And I would see the same people. I'd see the same people that were cosplaying. And what cosplaying basically is, if I decided I wanted to become, Sam Flynn here, I would go out of my way to buy a costume or have a costume that's made so that I would walk around the comic convention looking like Sam Flynn, and so cosplaying basically is, you become the character and you're walking around in costume and you become them in mannerisms and voice. And that's one of the most exciting things about the Comic-Cons is the cosplaying, because a lot of people want to take pictures with their favorite characters. You know, the kids love them. They oftentimes have a cosplay contest where they get judged, they might win prizes, etc. You know, it's like I said, it was a very wonderful experience, you know, always, you know, being at the conventions and seeing the same people and seeing a lot of the different people that cosplay, and even seeing things that I haven't seen since I was a little kid. Remember Danger Will Robertson, that whole thing, Lost in Space. I remember seeing some guy at one of the conventions made a whole robot suit. That was incredible. I was like, man, this is incredible. It was bringing back memories, you know. So I know if I was feeling a lot of nostalgia, I know a lot of other people were feeling, you know, the nostalgia as well. But I'll tell you guys, to be honest with you, so this is 2020. The last Comic-Con I did was probably January or February of this year. Last year, kind of in November, December, I started noticing that a lot of the Comic-Cons that I was attending, the attendance was kind of down, or when people were showing up, they didn't really, they weren't spending. And so I would actually, you know, go set up, you know, do the Comic-Con, come back home, and wouldn't make, you know, a lot of money. In the end, no matter what it is that you sell, the whole goal here is to make money. And I talked to a lot of the other vendors. A lot of the vendors were starting to kind of feel the same way. So what I started doing at that point, I started making a point to kind of switch over to selling online. And so once COVID hit this year, I had a garage full of stuff, and all the conventions got shut down. And I had to basically accelerate and this is kind of what my journey was. At that moment, I had to try to get rid of all my comic convention items. So what I did is I used to sell DVDs, I had a dollar blowout zone, I had hats, I had, you know, Bluetooth speakers and headphones and all types of stuff that I would sell at the conventions. Try to differentiate myself from everybody else. But I had to go out into the garage and try to find a way to get rid of all that stuff. And so what I did is I picked through everything I had and pulled out the items that I knew I could easily transition over to eBay. And like I said, I had already started to selling more stuff online that was getting from the comic conventions, because I started noticing things slowing down. But once COVID hit, it was pretty much a nail in the coffin, you know, things were done. And I started to switch the things over to online selling 100%. And then everything else that I had that I couldn't easily sell online, there was a point where I had almost 3,000 or 4,000 DVDs. I ended up listing those items on the local Facebook marketplace, and I had people buy them. And they bought them in bulk as wholesale lots. They pushed them off to somebody else. One guy that bought a lot of my DVDs, he ended up selling them to somebody else that were going to sell them outside the country. I had CDs that I got rid of. I had all these little itty bitty characters that I used to sell in the dollar blowout bin. And they were literally toys I would get from a thrift store. I'd buy a bag of toys for about $1.50, and there would maybe be 30 or 40 different little kid toys in there. I'd break those things open, drop them down in the dollar blowout bin. I aggregated those all together, and I ended up selling those off to one person that had a daycare. I had some other miscellaneous items that I ended up selling. So in the end, I ended up pulling the electronics and the hats and the wallets, and that was basically it. That stuff went to eBay. Everything else I ended up ultimately liquidating. So that's kind of what I did with my inventory. So once that was gone, my garage was cleaned out, and it took me probably about 3 weeks to get rid of everything. And I had multiple, you know, Facebook marketplace sales. You know, I took the time to convert everything over to online, and that's basically what it was. And so in the end, I don't have any more comic convention inventory. And then so I kind of set on my display stuff. So I had tables, I had chair, I had stools, I had racking, and I kind of sat on all that stuff for a while, and eventually I ended up selling that stuff off as well. And that kind of solidified me being completely out of the comic convention, vendor arena. And one of the things I want to do for you guys real quick, I want to kind of share with you guys a couple videos here. I'm gonna cut away for a second. And these are some of the fun times that I had as a Comic-Con vendor seller, for sure. And hopefully you guys will get a little bit of joy about these, and I'll come back right here in a couple seconds.
My cupboard's getting a little bare. It's been a fantastic experience. T3R Retail is in the house.
What's up, everybody? Andre, Reese.biz. Happy Labor Day to you guys. I'm out here today in Turlock at the Ohanna Comic-Con. I'm even sporting a Ohanna Comic-Con shirt today. I'm definitely in uniform. Let me show you guys what's going on here. It's going to be a busy day. There's a hell of a long line outside. People are still trying to get in. That's the entrance down there.
that side. But here's a quick view of my booth. I've got all the goodies here. I've got the hats. I've got some video game systems here. Vintage, retro hats, of course. I've always got Bluetooth stuff. People love to get the DVDs. I got a ton of Blu-rays this time around, conventional DVDs, and then the dollar blowout bin. And of course, I got the fidget spinners here. I've also got video games, but the dollar blowout bin, I've got it stacked up today. This is always a crowd favorite, you know, for sure. You know, so hope you guys are having a great Labor Day. Got books over here, etc., DVDs. Take care. I'll check back with you guys a little bit later.
All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed those comic convention videos. I mean, when I watch those things, I kind of go back and watch the videos that I've done before at the conventions. I just really, truly enjoy the crowd, the people I used to work with, and of course, making money and all that as well. But it was a very, 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 you know, tight-knit community. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm very sad that the Comic-Cons are gone. And there's a number of reasons that I'm sad. One, there were a lot of people that really depended upon the money that they were earning from the conventions. You know, I had been more of a hybrid person where I sold stuff in person and also online. So it was very easy for me to switch over to get rid of my inventory and then move everything else to online and focus really on online selling. But a lot of my friends and colleagues that were in the vendor arena, they don't sell online at all. And so if they haven't been any conventions, if there haven't been any ways to sell, you get stuck with the inventory and it gets very difficult to eat. And I'm very thankful that, you know, part of the COVID-19 rescue package gave people such as myself, you know, and solo entrepreneurs the ability to still get unemployment. That way people at least were able to get some income coming in for a while they kind of figured out what was going on. And I kind of seen along the way a few of the more aggressive sellers. They've kind of moved to the flea markets and they're trying to sell those items there. But the crowd at the flea market may not necessarily be compatible with, you know, what you would generally find at the comic conventions, you know. So, but I definitely appreciate, you know, the hustle. And my prediction, I don't know for the rest of this year for sure, through Q1 of next year as they start to roll out the vaccine, I don't think the conventions will return until probably the middle of next year, later on during the summer. And then you got to kind of think about the impact. There's a lot of people that will still be a little scared, a little wary about being in large crowds. Because at some of the Comic-Cons you guys saw, there could be wall-to-wall people, you know, that are trying to, you know, get through and see what they want to see. You know, so I'm hopeful that when the Comic-Cons do come back, that the vendors will have product to sell. And then I also hope as well that the customers will bring, you know, their open pocketbooks and, you know, support the vendors as well. You know, and you know, so like I said, I predict that sometime maybe next summer, you know, they'll start to return. And in closing, you know, I am out of the Comic-Con vendor arena. I'm no longer going to be selling at the Comic-Cons. But the one thing that I always wanted to do when I was actually selling at the Comic-Cons, I didn't actually dress up when I was a vendor, but I want to one day return to the cons when things are safe. You know, I got my vaccine and all that as well. And you know, I want to return to the Comic-Cons and I want to actually cosplay. My favorite person that I want to cosplay at is Blade. I want to come to the conventions dressed up in a full Blade outfit, and I want to, especially with the new movie that's going to be coming out soon, I'm definitely looking forward to being able to cosplay as Blade. And I think my fallback for cosplaying, excuse me, is going to be Sam Flynn for sure. You know, so like I said, I'm not going to be a vendor, but I will definitely continue to participate in the Comic-Con community because, like I said, it's an incredible group of people, and I've always admired anybody that was able to cosplay and pull it off and bring joy and happiness to the children and the adults and the kids that were, I see Sam's kind of talking right now, I'm pressing a little button here. The people that would bring joy to the adults and the kids, you know, and by choosing whoever they decide to cosplay with. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out, guys. You know, like I said, I am no longer selling at the Comic-Cons. I hope they come back stronger than ever. I hope there's incredible pent-up demand. I hope people, you know, ultimately, you know, come back and enjoy themselves. They continue to cosplay. You know, they support the vendors. The vendors, you know, definitely are going to always need your help. You know, to keep because without the vendors and people purchasing items, the Comic-Cons do not continue. And I hope that all the promoters that I've met along the way, one of my favorites was Ziggy. You know, well, shout out to my man Ziggy. You know, you definitely brought Comic-Cons to a lot of people. I just hope that down the road that a lot of the different Comic-Con operators will be able to resurrect their businesses and have the support of the vendors and be able to sell the products. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video short, guys, and end it right now. Take care. Like I said, I'm gonna be coming back one day as either Sam Flynn, but most likely it's gonna be my Blade, which is one of my favorite characters of all time. Take care, guys. Be safe, and we'll be in touch. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end of this video. Visit me directly at andrereese.biz. 4 things to do: like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell. Stay safe, guys. Lift the glass to freedom. Stay woke and don't get TikTok. Take care. I will see you guys in the next video.